What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. Go over some of the data points, break it down what's really influencing it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is up 0.7%, 214 the low, 224 the high. And you are seeing relatively okay volume. So 79 million shares being traded, 138 is the average. But looking at both the secondary market and dark pool, you are seeing some buys from institutions, which is always welcomed, but majority of the volume is actually coming from algorithmic trading because Lucid did put out news today. So this is back-to-back days that we've had news. So I kind of feel kind of spoiled a little bit, but today's news, nothing overly crazy that you need to jump up and down over. In fact, I don't really see too many people even talking about it, but this is more associated to Graphite One. So it looks like the project, based out of Alaska, did get fast 41. So that ultimately is streamlining. It's going to be able to move up the production in Alaska like 2x, so a lot faster than what it was going to previously be. And from my kind of basic research, I think the original one would have taken about a year and a half to even get going. So this should take it to roughly around the 6-month mark. So that's kind of a good thing. Do your own due diligence and maybe research, or if anyone is familiar with that, aside from just Google and whatever, let me know kind of some additional details. But nonetheless, they do have a non-binding agreement, so there isn't really anything kind of concrete set in stone, but still nonetheless, I think this is good for Lucid. Again, kind of complying with the administration's policies, and of course, more importantly, a good way to avoid additional unnecessary tariffs that would get rolled over into the customers and everyone. So let me know your viewpoint on that. Aside from that though, I did see some chatter that insiders were selling, and so far we have not received any Form 4s. Last ones were on June the 9th, and that was all associated to the shareholder meeting. So what was approved for compensation and stuff. So as far as right now, unless those individuals know something that is coming out ahead of time, but there wasn't any 144s showing anyone's intention to sell, and there hasn't been any Form 4 showing anyone selling. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. As far as right now, I think that is just FUD. But there was a couple data points on a side note that did come out this morning. Retail sales came in at negative 0.9. Forecast was negative 0.4. So this isn't good. Of course, it does justify a little bit, possibly sooner of a rate cut. And then you kind of had the manufacturing data coming in strong. So you once again have that flip-flop. So bad data, good data. So ultimately we'll have to wait and see what Powell does say tomorrow on when we can kind of start to expect possibly a rate cut. Market is starting to forecast September, as I've brought up in the past. So that's going to be something to keep in mind possibly for tomorrow. But shorts as of right now aren't really doing all too much. They're increasing 213,000 shares. 30.73% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 378 million shares overall are being shorted. Even looking at the teal line, they haven't really been doing anything. So all of this right here, up, down, sideways, loop-de-loop, that is all institutions as well as algorithmic trading. So algorithmic trading is in full force. So like I said, it did really push higher because of that news. So algos picked up on that, and plus big money did buy into that as well. But you are starting to see a pullback because of geopolitical issues. So what is coming out from the Middle East, that whole conflict is somewhat scaring the market. So that's why we are seeing a little bit of a pull lower right now. But currently 966,000 in calls, 259,000 in puts. 72% of all the options being done though are just neutral in nature. And the reason why it's neutral, it's smack dab in the middle. It wasn't oriented towards the bid or the ask. So essentially we aren't able to tell whether it was bullish or bearish, but you can kind of see big money is definitely getting in. So a couple big candles. So 700 $135,000 in premiums between 10.10 and 10.15, and then there was $157,000 mostly in puts, but that was done between 10.55 and 11. So big money definitely is playing Lucid a little bit, but from the bulls, you see a consensus for it to be above 250, bears for it to be sub 2. So kind of where we're at. There's a little bit more upside, but I think Lucid does need to continue this good PR momentum, keep putting out news, and then this is eventually we'll be able to get above that key pivot for the 50-day moving average, and then we can kind of see higher highs, but it's going to be baby steps up until that point does happen. But right now with that 217 right above this pivot point, so it's currently trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 216 is going to be that key support you really want to watch for Lucid to hold throughout today as well as going into tomorrow. 222 and then 227 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. So right now Lucid's just following the technicals and piggybacking off of the broader market. There was one thing that did come out yesterday though that was just posted, I believe, after hours. So after my video I did too. So there was a rating, and it was a $3 hold, Cantor Fitzgerald, Andre Shepard. Honestly, him, I'm not really paying attention to all that much because he has reiterated his rating probably around 4 or 5 times over the last 2 months, all of which have been $3. So I don't think the market's overly caring what he has to say. Plus, on a side note, he has a 49% success rating, so you might as well just kind of flip a coin when it comes down to that. So that was a new rating, but once Lucid does put out their Q2 numbers, so roughly 1 month time span from today, that is where you should see a good about 3 to 4 new analyst ratings just because of that. But on the actual chart itself, you can kind of see it is ready and showing signs that it does want to move higher despite everything that's happening in the broader market. 50-day moving average is at 243, so that's going to be a key pivot. Aside from that, you also do have that 100-day moving average at 249. So it is just a matter of time before Lucid does start to move higher. And one thing to take note of though is the last time the market did start to get very fearful and start to pull back, Lucid surprisingly did do very, very well. So that's something to keep in mind. So even though yesterday and today we have a lot of volatility in the broader market, you're seeing Lucid somewhat showing signs that it wants to move higher. And yesterday you had shorts doubling down on Lucid, so they clearly were trying to suppress it. So hopefully someone at Lucid is reading between the lines and seeing, hey, our stock's actually holding up fairly well given the circumstances in the market. I wonder why. It is because they put out news, and algorithmic trading picks up on this. And as I've always brought up, algorithmic trading makes up for a huge chunk of daily volume with Lucid and majority of stocks in the market right now. So hopefully smarter minds at Lucid are seeing this and be like, hey, maybe we should start putting out more updates, more news. Even though this one that came out this morning it's not anything crazy, it's more associated to Graphite One, but with Lucid's name being incorporated in that, it does get moved up as well. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Are you buying? Are you selling? What's your kind of general thoughts on Lucid? And what do you feel is more things that could be a good catalyst? Obviously, I think one thing that all investors want to know is partnerships. What is coming next? And this is why I know I always bring this up. We need to start thinking about potential like gold questions to ask management, not just like what are you eating for dinner, when's profitability. Those are honestly wastes of questions. And last round of questions was rather disappointing. So hopefully we have some pretty solid questions for the Q2 earnings. So let me know your thoughts. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon and give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.